Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just following up on that, and I wish that I had been there for the full scope of that question, but to the comments that you have made, Mr. Dickerson, I was reading an article from the Wall Street Journal just yesterday, and it's entitled, Gen Z Plumbers and Construction Workers Are Making hashtag Blue Collar Cool. So, I mean, doesn't that get your attention? We spend a lot of money trying to figure out, all right, how are we going to attract young people into the trades? And the article goes on about a young woman who is an electrician in Cornwall, New York, and she's on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Did you see her recently atop a bucket truck, adding utility outlets to power poles, or fixing an electric panel in a water-damaged basement? And then we've got a plumber, 23-year-old guy out of California who has a TikTok video of himself removing a water heater with a dolly. By the time he woke the next morning, it had 470,000 views. I mean, so, all right, people, let's pay attention to our young people, how they are communicating this. And they're looking at this, and they're seeing these are good jobs. These are not only jobs that can take care of a 23-year-old young person, but it's really good wages, and they point that out in this article, and how these young people are kind of blowing out the stereotypes. They talk about one young woman who wants to show that it's okay to be feminine in a male-dominated industry of welding, so she's in full makeup and mascara, whatever it is that takes. But I think these are good reminders to us that how we are able to reach young people about these career opportunities and why they truly are careers. This is not just a detour on your way to a college degree. These are jobs that everybody needs. You've got great people that want to be doctors and lawyers, but every one of them needs to have their toilet work in their house. They need to have their lights go on. They need their electrician. So how we make this real, I think, is so much of what we're trying to do with workforce development. I just came from a meeting with the Alaska Home Builders Association, and we're talking about really the housing crisis within our state. And it comes down to one thing. You've got builders, but they can't get the framers, they can't get the electricians, they can't get what they need. It's all workforce, workforce, workforce. So as we're looking to focus on the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, I'm one who's looking to make sure that we're advancing our legislation for that next generation, not thinking what it is that we think they should have, but what it is that is going to attract them, that's going to be able to provide for those jobs. I want to make sure that we're incorporating flexibility into these programs, because I come from a big state with big geography, low population, super high costs. Your transportation costs just are killers. But I'll tell you, one of the things that has been an impediment to our workforce training programs is they're all located in your cities, in your larger population centers. But I've got 80% of the state of Alaska. Our communities are not connected by road, so people got to fly in. So it's not like they can go take a training class and then be at home dealing with their kids or spouse or whatever it is. So for us, what they're looking for are childcare, transportation costs. So how we can incorporate flexibility into these programs is something that I hope that you would all share is going to be a positive. That also is an attraction when it comes to young people looking to these training opportunities. I've talked, haven't allowed you more than 40 seconds now to say anything, but can any of you speak to how important it is to have flexibility?
I'm going to give you an extra minute. How's that?
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Flexibility.
Thank you, Senator. That's a great question. I did not know. Did you say 80% of Alaskan towns are not connected by roads?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's either by water or by air.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Interesting and very costly.
Yeah, indeed. I would say, and just to go back to Senator Markey's questions about the flexibility, it's this, that people come to the workforce system with very different backgrounds, very different needs. You know, we had a panel recently where workforce leaders from different cities came in, and they were talking about the workforce system being a barrier reduction system. And so, meaning that people are going to come in with different barriers and have different needs, and that there has to be some flexibility. Everyone doesn't get the same treatment, essentially. So I would say that that's the importance of diverse populations coming in with very different needs and backgrounds.
I would just add it's not only a diverse population, but it's also federal regulations that we're all expected to follow with populations that are diverse, with goals that are diverse, and with timeframes that are diverse. And so it is absolutely necessary that we have the flexibility. And the final point is we all expect these programs and the training to be aligned with the regional economy. Federal guidelines align with the regional economy. So you can imagine that's threading a needle.
Right.
So looking for that flexibility is going to be key.
Do you think that the way things are structured currently, that we do have that flexibility? Government programs, by their very nature, are not inherently built to be flexible.
I'll jump in. Thanks for that question and expanding upon that. One of the areas of advocacy that the Chicago Jobs Council continues to advance is making sure there are barrier reduction funds and that the definition of supportive services is more expansive. So you talked
Would
about.
that include like childcare,
I was just going to say, you talked about childcare, you talked about transportation. We talk a lot about supplies for individuals, what they need to actually get to work. You talked a lot about construction. A lot of the equipment that individuals need can be very costly. And then the other component I mentioned earlier is even adding in the mental health piece. So expanding the definition of what supportive services actually are, and then making sure you have those funds allocated to actually reduce the barriers for individuals to be able to get to work. We talked a lot about fines and fees that keep people away from work too. A lot of work that we do at CJC is eliminating some of those barriers related to fines and fees that can inhibit someone from, they can have a suspended driver's license and can't get to work. So being able to address all of those things with a much more expansive definition is what we look to advocate for in terms of reducing barriers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.